All right, we are live. I have a really special guest here. How are you, Tony the Tiger Lopez? How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, Tony the Tiger Lopez is a huge, in my mind, a huge celebrity and a big get for my podcast. So, for those of you who are not super familiar with boxing, let me just kind of list the accolades. He's a three-time world champion, two-time super featherweight, right? And then one-time lightweight champion. Is that
Uh,
right?
yeah, it was. Yeah, and then I had won an NABO at junior welterweight.
There you go. So, and then on top of that, you were Ring Magazine Fight of the Year, I think in 1988, right? You
Yes,
fought
sir.
Rocky Lockridge.
Lockridge, yeah.
Yeah, and then from there, you were also Comeback of the Year in 1990 when you regained your belt from John John Molina, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, so big accolades there for a great guy. He's been a local celebrity. I remember watching his fights back when I was younger with my dad, and I'm really glad to have you on the podcast.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
man. I
coming on.
appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate it.
So tell me, you let's talk a little bit first. How old were you when you started boxing?
I started at the tender age of 10,
What
and
what got you? Were you here in Sacramento? Where were you?
yeah, right here in Sac. Born and raised here in Sac.
So born and raised. How many kids in your family?
Uh, Four. My
Oh,
brother and two sisters.
oh wow. Okay. And did your
Yeah.
brother do any boxing, or was it just you?
No, no, my brother actually started it. Well, my dad started it. He was a
Okay.
boxer in Mexico, came over here, fought a few times, and then he got married and he quit. So, and then my brother went to Peter Lassen Junior High School over here in Sacramento, and then I guess he was getting beat up. So my dad told him to go to the gym and start at the Capitol Boxing Gym on Stockton, and then
Uh-huh.
that's where it started. I think he started at 14, I believe,
Oh
and
wow.
then I was always fighting anyways. So, my first fight was my first real fight. I think was in kindergarten. It
Oh
was either
yeah.
kindergarten or first grade, and then I just liked it, and then so I actually got that. My brother's trainer asked if I could ask my dad if I could fight at the age of 8, but my dad said no, and he had to wait till I was at least 10. So
Hmm.
2 years later, I'm out fighting in the streets, and Jerry said, "If you want to fight, jump in the car." So I jumped in the car, went to the gym, and never stopped going.
Wow. So what was it about? I mean, you mentioned you were fighting a lot. Was there just kind of were you just naturally aggressive? What was it that was causing the fights?
You know, I wasn't. I'm never really aggressive. Even now, I'm not. I've never been aggressive. I just don't take anything. I mean, I don't believe I have to.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so whether it's two of them or 10 of them, like I tell people, hey, look, I'm old. I'm 59 years old. I'm old, but guess what? We're both going to end up in the hospital today because I don't quit. And
Right.
that's been my ultimate drive. And, to be real, man, that's how I win world titles. You just
Yeah.
don't quit. You know.
Yeah. So that was one thing I wanted to talk with you about your boxing career because one of the things I think about you, and I think you've even said this before, and that is that you're not a boxer, you're a fighter,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
And you think that was because you had a big appeal when you were fighting. And it's interesting because you see a guy like Floyd Mayweather, who is arguably the greatest fighter of all time, but he never really fights. He's not a pure boxer. Um,
Greatest boxer of all time.
right, right.
So,
But you, I mean, you had, I mean, knockdown, drag out fights with, like I said, John John Molina, Rocky Lockridge, and then even Julio Caesar Chavez. I mean, you went 10 rounds with him. And so, do you think that was part of your appeal? The fact that you could just, I mean, you just went.
you know, I think because I was when I was younger and single, I was out there. I go clubbing. I'd hang out. I'm Mexican, so I had lowriders. So I'd go cruising. I did the whole 9 yards. I was out all the time, and
Uh,
and it's crazy. I'll tell you the story. It's a little long, but it's a really good story. It's a true story.
mhm.
I was an amateur for, let's say, 10 years. I think 10 years. I think I took a year and a half off, got fat, came back because I want to lose some weight, and I started fighting again. And then, so one day I thought to myself, because I couldn't get any more amateur fights. They were hard to come. Nobody really wanted to fight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, screw it. If I'm going to fight, I might as well get paid for it. So I'm going to go turn pro. So at the age of 20, without telling anybody, because now you got to remember, I'm the screw up of the family. If someone's going to do something wrong, that's me. I'm going to be the one. So I got in trouble for stuff I didn't do and I accepted it because there was stuff I didn't get caught. So I just accepted it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how it really was. And
Mm-hmm.
so one day at 20 years old, I just thought I actually really wanted to be a police officer. Go
Mm.
figure that. For real.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so at 20 years old, I wanted to go become a community service officer. And so I went to go take a test. I didn't tell nobody, didn't tell my family, didn't tell anybody. I went to go take a test, and I think I passed like second or third in my class.
Oh wow.
And so they called me back right away and said, "Hey, come on down, and we'll get you started on. I guess you had to do the schooling or the physical education, all that stuff first. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember what it was, but you had to do something before they hired you, because it was just a community service officer, right?
Right.
So then I thought, okay, cool. And then I thought, wow, wait. I seriously thought I was going to Sac City College, and I getting ready to quit there because I didn't like it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I never was a school guy. So I thought, man, you know what? Should I box or should I become a cop? And I thought, man, I could always become a cop because I could only box for so long. And let's just say I'm no good. Well, I can always come back and be a cop. But
Mm.
if I become a cop, I can't box because it takes up too much time, you know?
Right.
So then I
Right.
thought, man, I thought, well, I went to the thing. I went to that thing, and they called me. This is the time they called me to say, hey, come on, we accept you. Come on down. And then I thought, man, shoot, and I didn't go. I
Mm.
thought, screw it, I'm gonna try to be a boxer, and I did. And then that's when I started taking it serious. And well, I always took it serious, but in a professional way. So I went to the state athletic commission and signed the papers, became a pro fighter. This is the funny part. This is crazy. I get home, right? This is true. I get home. I get my mom's cooking dinner, so we all come have dinner at mom's house. So I got kicked out at 17. So
Mm.
I went to mom's house to go have dinner, and my brothers and sisters and everybody's there. And I walk in the house, and everybody's at the table, and I walk in the door, and I go, "Hey, guess what I did today?" They're going, "What'd you do, Tony?" I go, I go, "I turned pro today." And everybody goes, "Tony, you didn't." I go, "Oh yeah, I did," because I was always screwing up. I was always partying. I wasn't serious.
Mm.
And well, that's what they thought because I was always goofing off. And so then uh, uh, I got the lectures, and I got, you're not going to do it. You're just goofing off. You're going to get hurt. Did all this. And so after a while, they got over it. They'll say, my dad just said, okay, well, sure, we'll give him a couple fights and see what he does, and we'll go from there.
Mm.
So that's what happened. And then I turned pro, and my first fight, it was a trip. It was I don't remember the guy's name, but my brother's a serious one, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I'm the goof off. So I'm in my brother's training because my brother was already fighting main events, so
Mm.
he was the main eventer that night, and so I was fighting on his undercard. And so he's my brother's always serious. And he's like, hey man, you better take this shit serious, man. These guys aren't playing; they're getting paid. They're gonna get hurt out there. I go, and me, I was just like, man, ain't nobody gonna hurt me, fool. I'm just gonna go out there and do what I do. And he goes, okay, man.
Uh,
He goes, I'm trying to tell you. And he's always talking. He has always talked to me like that,
right.
because he's the bigger brother, right?
Sure.
And so I'm starting to walk out. They call my name. I start walking out. I turn around. As I'm walking out the door, I turn around to my brother and I go, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. It'll take a couple of minutes. He goes, man, you better take this, this stuff serious. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. And so I walk down. He just shakes his head like, this guy's too much. And so I walk down the stairs. He introduces. I think it was a minute and some seconds. The first round, knocked the guy out. And
Hmm.
so I was back, and that's how it started, and it went on from
Wow.
there. You know,
That was what I think. That's something that impressed me was I was looking at your record. You have 50 wins, 34 of them by knockout. So I mean, you were pretty heavy handed out there.
it's actually 36. I counted it.
Oh,
They're wrong.
oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it is because and I'm going, but I can't, if anything at all, my memory's not the best. It's not bad, it's not great, but it's not like the worst, you know.
Right.
But I always thought, man, I thought I had 36. I think it's 36 and not 34. They cheated
Right.
me out of two of them.
Well, was there? It's interesting that you bring that up. That you were kind of you said you were the screw up. You're out partying. Is that why you got kicked out? Just partying too much?
Yeah, because I went out one weekend, didn't come home, didn't call, didn't tell nobody, and they told me
Mm.
not to do it again. And then the next weekend I did it again, so I got home, my shit was packed.
well, so it's interesting. What I find interesting about this, and this might be a lesson for younger people. You found something that you were passionate about. You clearly were passionate about boxing, and you had a choice, right? You had the safe choice: go be a cop. But you're like, you know what? This is the time for me to do this. I'm going to give it a shot. I can always go back to being the cop. And you were passionate about it. You took it seriously, even though you were a joker. You obviously took it seriously because you're knocking dudes out left and right. You're becoming a world champion. You don't do that without hard work. So,
No, yeah,
I mean, tell me what it's like. So you're training. It's what, 6 weeks of training, a training camp.
yeah, pretty much 6 to 8 weeks is what we
And,
do.
and what does it entail? Like, give me a given day. What is it like when you're training for a
In the
fight?
midst of it, I normally get up. I don't get up at no 4 o'clock in the morning. My brother did. I didn't do that. I
Uh-huh.
got up when I got up. I got up mostly between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
Get up, get ready, go run. And like a typical day for a title fight, I'd go run my 6 miles. I'd run in the
Hmm.
mountain. I'd go most of the time. I'd run here in Auburn, or I'd go
Hmm.
to Big Bear Lake where the altitude is
Hmm.
real high. Depends on who I was fighting, you know.
Right, right.
And so I'd run the hills and do all that stuff, and then uh, I'd come back home, uh, go have a little something to take a shower, do all that stuff, go have a little something to eat. My little something to eat was probably like one egg, a half a ham, and some coffee, because coffee hot something hot because it runs right through you.
Right.
So because I had to lose 30 pounds for every fight.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
a serious weight cut.
yeah, it is. But
Wow.
but I've been doing it for years. I've been doing it since I was 17 years old.
Right.
And I did it until I was 29. No one ever complained. No one ever did nothing. Over time, boxing has lost its oof. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm,
It's not the same as it was before.
mhm, mhm,
Anyways, but yeah. So then, I'd have my breakfast. I'd come back and I'd take a walk, and I'd come back and rest until like 1 o'clock. Actually, 3 o'clock. I'm sorry. And then I'd go to the boxing gym at 3 o'clock, and
mm.
I'd spar anywhere from 8 rounds to 18 rounds. And,
Wow.
and it depends on how many rounds I was going, depending on how many people we used. We could use five,
Mhm,
six, 7 people, you know,
mhm,
um, and because every so many rounds they change into a new guy.
mhm, mhm,
And then I'd get my training in, be it from anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, come back, have my dinner, which was basically a piece of chicken, a little bit of rice, and another cup of coffee, or because I couldn't eat nothing, drink nothing cold. And then
mm,
uh, I would have nothing else to eat or drink during the day. And then
mm,
I'd go back at night, go like to a health club, run for an hour I put on Abilene, I put my sweats on, then I put plastics over the sweats, and then plastic over the sweats over the plastic, you know,
wow.
and
Gee.
that's how I had to do it.
Did you ever have any serious like health problems related to your cut? Because the reason I ask that is, you hear of some of the MMA fighters right these days, UFC, they're trying to do these serious weight cuts and kidneys are shutting down and things like. Did you ever have anything like that, or were you just good to do it? You just were fine.
No, it's funny you said that
Hmm.
because there was a doctor named Stephen Barad back here in Sacramento back in the day. I think he was a bone doctor. He was my ring doctor,
Mm,
and he'd go with the fights with me. He'd go in the training camps all the time because he was my doctor. And then he'd always tell me, he'd watch me eat. He's telling me, and then I think towards the end of my career, he told me one day, he goes, you know what? He goes, I've been meaning to tell you this for years. He goes, but you're killing yourself. He goes, you're
mm,
not going to live past 60, 65.
wow.
And I look at him and I'm going, why is he? He goes, because you're killing your body.
Mm,
He goes, the way you die is not a way to die. And I go, well, I got to do what I got to do, and it's working for me right now. So I got to do what I got to do.
Right.
And then he
Wow.
goes, yeah, but that's not the right way. He goes, man, your liver's gonna shut down. Your whole body's gonna start shutting down when you get older. He goes, you're not gonna get that much older. And
Right.
then the funny part was about 2 3 years ago, he lives up in El Dorado Hills now, and so he invited me to his. He has a horse ranch out there, and he invited me up to his. He had a little party out there. So I'm driving up. I parked my car, and then he sees me coming. He starts walking towards my car, and I get out, and I get out of the car, and I go, "Hey, Steve, how's it going?" And he goes, "Wow." He goes, "You're not in a wheelchair?" And I totally forgot about the conversation. I really did.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
I'm looking at him like, no, I'm walking, dude. I'm healthier than anything. He goes, how's your health? I go, good. Why? It's great. He goes, are you ever sick? I go, maybe once every year, maybe. I go,
Mhm.
sometimes yes, sometimes no. And he goes, man, it's amazing. He goes, you should be in a wheelchair. And when he said that, it clicked. I go, oh yeah, that's right. And then I started telling him, I thought you said I was gonna be in a wheelchair, but he goes, man, you know how you treated your body, you should be. He goes, I don't know why you're not. He goes, by every means of every doctor's book, you should be. I go,
Wow.
I'm healthy, dude.
So
Nothing
in
wrong
that,
with me.
also on top of that, I mean, look, it had to have been you were you were the world champion. You were certainly well known in boxing circles, definitely a big celebrity here in Sacramento, and you were selling out arenas everywhere you went. You were doing huge things. I got to imagine also there was a lifestyle along with that. I mean, like you said, you had lowriders, you were partying. I mean, you were the world champ. I mean, were those times also when were you running pretty hard in between the fights, partying and having
Oh
a
yeah,
good time?
oh yeah, big
Yeah.
time. Well,
Hmm.
you know why? Because I think training, for them 6 weeks, because I trained every day.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
trained super hard for six to 8 weeks.
Hmm.
And and my I thought my deal was if I work hard, I need to play hard,
Yeah.
and I've always done that.
Hmm.
Uh, but when I work and I don't play. I
Hmm.
don't mix the two. It's one or the other. And when
Yeah.
it's time to work, it's time to go to work.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's what I've always done.
Did you did you ever have a fight where after the fight you were just like, man, I got to rethink this boxing thing? Like we like get really badly pounded, and you're just like, what am I doing? Did you have any? Do you remember a fight specifically like that, or
Never had one. Never
really,
had one. Mm-mm.
really?
I've never had a fight where I thought, oh, no, that's a lie. I did have one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and here's what that was. I had lost a title. So, and I was going to have, before I can have another title fight, you have to have a tune up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's this guy from Mexico. I was weighing I think it was 135. And he was from Mexico. I don't remember exactly what his record was, but it was like 23, 25, and 11, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, he ain't nothing, you know?
Right.
So I'm training for the fight, and I always train hard for all my fights. I never, just because of records, who cares, train
Mm-hmm.
hard, right? So I always did me. So I trained hard, did everything I had to do. It was just a 10 round 10 tune up. So I get in there, and he's from Mexico. They've now seen him, his record and all that stuff, and did the whole third. Well, the bell rings, right? We come out, and the first thing he hits me with was left hook in my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, he hit so freaking hard. He hit my arm. And I thought he was the only person to ever do that. That made me think, oh crap, I better get rid of this fool because he can get lucky. You know what I mean? So I remember jumping on him. I think I knocked him out like the sixth or seventh round. But I had to
Wow.
jump on him. I had to fight him.
Right.
It was what it was. But he
Wow.
was the only one that made me go, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I
Wow.
better fight a little bit this time.
Who do
You
you
know?
who do you think was your toughest opponent?
Ooh, there's going to be two, off,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt, two, and they're equally. But okay, like you had just mentioned earlier, the boxer fighter. When I said you said he was a boxer, I said no, or I said Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
Mayweather's not a fighter. Mayweather's a boxer. Not taking nothing from him. He's done what he's done. He's done fabulous. He's done great things for boxing and himself. So without saying that, he's a boxer because that's what he does. I'm a fighter. Now, who gives me problems is a good boxer.
Mm.
Doesn't mean I can't beat them. It just means they give me problems. It takes
Mm.
me a little bit of time to figure them out.
Mm.
Just like some fighters give some boxers problems because they have to figure us out, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, like, okay, remember John John Molina?
Yeah.
Okay, that fool, 3 fights with him. And the first fight, I didn't know anything about him. They just popped him up. He was number one in the contender. I took it because I always fought number one contenders.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
so I thought, okay, I don't care. Let's take it. Let's do what we got to do. And you know what? Boxing, boxing that night of a fight is like you walking into your office and going, you know what? Today's not a good day. You know what I mean? You just
Mhm.
have bad work days, right?
Yeah.
Well, so do I. And so do fighters. In the first fight, that morning I woke up, I'm like, wow, I'm not feeling it today. I'm not.
Mm.
But there's a contract you signed, so you have to feel it no matter what, right?
Right.
So
Right.
we fight, and I think I won the first one. And it was people like, it wasn't a great fight, but and I admit it wasn't a great fight. Yeah. I don't think he did enough to take it from me. I think it could have been either give it to me or give us a draw at worst. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But
Mhm.
he definitely didn't take the title from me, and that's truly how I felt. And then, but they made a big old stink about oh no, you robbed this and all this kind of stuff. Shut up. And then it's funny, and then so I fought him again. But the first time we fought, he was a boxer and he moved really really well. You know,
Mm.
and I
Mhm.
just wasn't on my game. I was just a bad day at the office.
Yeah.
And then so they cried so much, we just said, okay, we'll fight them again. And then the second time, now I'm already starting to have problems making weight because I'm already in my late 20s, you know,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
it's starting to cause me problems to make
Mhm.
this weight, right? So, but I'm not telling nobody, so I'm just doing what I'm doing. And then the second fight, I weighed. I never made the weight. I couldn't make it
Mm.
anymore. So
Mm.
and I stopped eating 4 days prior to the fight.
Oh
I didn't
wow.
eat or drink anything. And then
Wow.
yeah, and then I got on the scale because the night before because you normally lose a pound overnight, right? Automatically, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So the night before I think I was 130 3/4, right? And I go, okay, good. I'll wake up at like a quarter pound under, right? And I'll be good. I just won't eat or drink anything until after the weigh-ins. And I'm starving, right?
Right.
And so I get up in the morning. First thing I do is go jump on a scale. I weigh 130 3/4. I didn't lose
Oh
a
wow.
freaking ounce. And then that night at the, you're welcome. And then that night at the weigh-ins, I walked in there, got on the scale, 130 3/4. And I
Oh
went,
wow.
oh my God. And that just kills you. It really does. Kills the spirit,
Right.
And then so take it easy, brother. Okay. And so, but they seen me. I was weak. I had nothing to offer. I was done. So they
Mm.
accepted the fight anyways. Because
Mm.
at that point in time, they could either change the fight to a 10 rounder. It's a non-title fight. It's a 10 rounder, and our pays are cut, right? But
Mhm.
or they could accept the fight at that weight and it's still a title fight. Well, they accepted it because I mean I'm on the scale. I have nothing left to offer. You see me. I had nothing left, right?
Right.
So they took it, and I thought, okay, well, whatever. And then so bell rings, and I have nothing to offer. Um, Man, he beat me like a wet noodle, and
Mm.
and, and then he did that for. I think I got cut in the end of the second round,
Mm.
and then the doctor comes to my corner into the third round and asks me how many how many fingers do I have, and then I go I couldn't see because I had
Mm.
my left eye my right eye was swollen shut. My
Mm.
my left eye I could had blood in it. I could barely see anything. It was real blurry, so I
Mm.
really couldn't see anything, and I couldn't see his fingers. But and we never practiced it. It just happened this way. Little Tony, or my bucket guy, was by my right foot, and he pounced 3 times on my leg.
Hmm.
And I just and we never never did anything. And he goes, "How many fingers?" And I go, "3." He goes, "Okay, keep going." I'm going, "Great, thank you, dog. Thank you, buddy." And then so, I tried to fight. I had nothing to offer. Finally, in the ninth round, eighth round, he got tired of whipping on me. He was
Hmm.
actually tired of beating me up.
Hmm.
And so I think I won. I think on the cards I won the ninth round.
Hmm.
And on the 10th round, he was just we were moving around. I got caught with 2 jabs that I just never saw him. I couldn't
Yeah.
see, so I never saw him. And then the doctor just stepped in between the referee just stepped between us and said, "Okay, that's it, that's enough." And I'm
Wow.
going, well, for me, I'm like, dude, you let me go 10 rounds. I had 2 more to go. Why didn't you let me finish the fight? You know what I mean?
Right.
You couldn't
Right.
hurt me anymore. Shit. You know, you could have stopped in like the third, fourth, or fifth round. Anytime in there, I would have never complained. But
Right.
now when I'm not doing so bad, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I had a chance to win, but a puncher always has that chance for knockout.
Right. And
Never
and
know.
on top of that, I mean, there's just I guess a pride thing on wanting to finish and
Yeah,
not get the TKO, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
what I got to say, what's impressive about that is you can't see anything in the third round, and you're going 7 more rounds
yeah.
with trying to, and you're doing okay considering. I mean, what is it that you think is in you? Because I don't think a lot of, I mean, I don't think a lot of people have that. What is it inside you that makes you want to do that?
That's easy. It's the desire to win.
Mm, mm-hmm.
I remember I got elbowed in my. He didn't do it on purpose. It was an elbow right in my eyeball. Pushed my eyeball back, blew a hole in the bottom of my socket. So I had
Mm,
tissues and everything coming down. Just sold up my eye, and that was done. And then,
mm-hmm.
I mean, he would hit me in my stomach, and it'll rattle my body, and it'll rattle my eye, and it'll just hurt with pain. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But every time he hit me, I wanted to hit him back. I just couldn't see him.
Yeah.
And then, but I figured, okay, well, I'm not gonna quit. That's for sure. You know.
Right. Right.
Um, but and they so after the fight was over, I had to go to there was a doctor here, Nancy Appleblatt, right here in Sac, and she put me back together like Humpty Dumpty. You know,
Wow. And
yeah,
then
it
you
was
fought him
really
a
good.
third time, and that's when you fought him a third time, and that's when you won the championship back, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Came back to Reno because he wouldn't come to Sacramento,
Huh.
and then so and I and I you watch, dude. Here's how fights are won, man. And this is no lie. This is how he really did it. I told the promoter, Don Chargan, I go, put us in the same hotel for the fight. And he goes, why? I go, just put us in the same hotel. And he
Hmm.
goes, okay. So I think we started at Caesars in Lake Tahoe. Remember Caesars in Lake Tahoe? We
Mm-hmm.
started there. And
Yeah.
we started training in Lake Tahoe. The fight was in Reno, but we started training in Lake Tahoe. And then, so he goes, okay. So he put us in the same hotel. So every time I seen him, because now he had his little entourage, right?
Sure.
Because he's a champ now. He has his little entourage. And so every time I'd see him walking in the casino, he'd have his little entourage there. I'd make sounds like a chicken. I'd flap my arms like a chicken. And I'd talk to him. And I'm going, are you going to run this time? Are you going to fight? You going to run? Going to fight? And I would talk to him, and he wanted to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the whole thing. By fight time, I wanted him to kill me. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted him to have that attitude. I want to kill this guy. Well, because it's hard to beat a boxer for me.
Mm-hmm.
If he's a really sharp boxer like he was, and he moved like he did, he's hard to beat. So I had to get him out of his boxing style and get him into a fight. Now he can't
Yeah.
outfight me, but he can outbox me.
Right.
So by fight time, he wanted to kill me. And
Mm.
so, like at breakfast time when I see him, or at dinner time, in front of everybody, I'd walk like a chicken, start making the buck buck sound. I would do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Mm.
And people laughing at me, laughing at him. I didn't care because I had a game plan. That's part of my game plan.
Right.
So when the fight happened, the first bell rang, and he came right at me, and he
Mm.
started throwing blows. And so we started. I think, and you can actually see me do it in like the third or fourth round. I look over to my corner, and I nod. I'm nodding my head like I got him. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to fight because now he's trying to fight me. He's not trying to box me. He's trying to fight me. So him doing that took him out of his game and put him into mine. So,
Wow.
and then that's how I ended up winning back my title.
Was there ever a fight that you took that made you nervous?
No.
Really? Even
Mm.
even Julio Caesar Chavez, that you were like, or was it more like I'm gonna fight him? Like I'm ready to fight him.
No, you know what? Watch. Honestly, dude, and it's just me. He's only human, you know.
Yeah.
He ain't nothing more than me. You know what? He's hurt just like I do. You know,
Hmm.
he. There's only one God, and He ain't it. You know.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that's my attitude. Everybody's tough until they get popped in the face. Well, guess
Hmm.
what? I got popped in the face a million times, and I'm still tough. So I don't care. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all it really was. And watch this. That is the biggest disappointing fight of my whole career. The one you
Really.
Caesar Chavez. That
What?
because
Why is that?
my attitude was, and I said it, and that was my fault. I should have never opened my mouth. But we got to Mexico 2 months prior. We're training in Mexico City. We're shoot, dude. Where we ran, we're running. We're driving up this mountaintop, right? And the car we're driving is going up like this. You
Hmm.
can't really.
Hmm.
It's going up like this at that much of an angle. We're going above the clouds,
Wow.
and I'm going, dang, how far is this place?
Hmm.
When I got there, and I was in decent shape when I left Sacramento, right?
Hmm.
And then so I got there, man. I couldn't run 200 yards.
Wow.
My chest felt like it was gonna explode.
Hmm.
And then so plenty of time to get ready, but we were way up at altitude, and so we're training, doing the stuff, and the newspaper, the news, and all this stuff starts. Hey, they're all talking to you in Spanish. Hey, what's going to happen at the fight? What are your plans for the fight? And from day one, I told everybody. From day one, since the time I got that damn plane, I go, look, I'm going to box him for 10. We're going to war for 2. I said,
Hmm.
last 11, 12 rounds, championship rounds, I'm knocking them out.
Hmm.
Okay. Shoot, 2 days before the fight, before the weigh-ins, we're on TV, Chavez and myself. And there's, he's talking his smack. He's, laughing, doing his little stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm not in the mood, whatever. So then they say, okay, hey, Tony, what are you going to do? I said, like I've been saying, I'm going to box for 10, and I'm going to knock him out in the last 2 championship rounds. I go, look, I'm not afraid to get knocked out. I come here to fight. I
Hmm.
go, so the last 2 rounds, we're going to war. I go, we're going
Hmm.
to see how tough Chavez really is. And then, and so the fight came. Guess what? 10th round, they stopped the fight. That's jacked
Hmm.
up. That's jacked up. What? They what? Here's the truth. I got a small 2-stitch cut under my eye because he hit me after the bell rang. The bell
Hmm.
rang, ding, and then he hits me, and then he goes back to his corner. They never said a word. I thought, okay, fine, whatever. You're in Mexico, so they're gonna do what they want to do anyways. And then so 10th round's coming along, dude. I'm fresh as a daisy.
Hmm.
I feel
Hmm.
like I'm in the first round, and and I'm ready for the 11th and 12th round. I'm just, dude, that's what I trained for. And all of a sudden, the referee stops me and calls me over. He's like, waves me to come to him. I'm going, what are you doing? He waves me. So I walk over to him. I stop fighting. Chavez stops, and I go over there to him. He grabs my hand, walks me to the doctor, and he tells the doctor, look at my eye. And the doctor never gets on the ring. He just stands up because we're higher than the ring. I think the ring was like 3.5, 4 feet tall, right? And then
Right.
we're standing on the ring. So the doctor just gets up. He's on the floor, on the ground. He stands up and he goes, "Oh no, it's over, it's over." I'm going, "What?" I go. The blood wasn't even getting in my eye. I
Hmm.
go, "Let me finish this round." I go, "If I don't knock him out this round, I go, you can stop the fight. I'll never complain. I'll never say a word. I
Hmm.
promise." And he goes, no, it's over, it's over. I go, whatever,
Wow.
you
So you
know.
think there was something screwy going on there?
Oh, dude, no, there was. It's not like
Uh,
there wasn't. There was. And
yeah.
I'm not. But you know what, man? Watch. I'm that guy. I'm gonna call it like it. Like if someone kicks my ass, and guess what? More power to you. Got lucky. Today was your day, not tomorrow, but today was. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's
Right.
nothing to be ashamed of. You shit.
Right.
I got paid. With check cash. You know. So yeah.
Yeah.
So but when they take it from you, when you train so hard and you're doing all the stuff you need to do, and then they just take it from you, it's kind of really disappointing. It's kind
Yeah.
of pisses you off, because you put in all that work and you didn't get to do what you came to do,
So how was the business of boxing? You always hear rumors of boxing, particularly in that era when like Don King was real prevalent and guys like that it was real shady on the business side. Did you experience that?
Hey, well, I fought for Don King 5 times.
Did you
And,
really?
oh, dude, let me tell you something. Okay, I'm gonna be real. I don't care what anybody else says. I'm telling you my experience with Don King. Probably the most generous promoter I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Dude, I watch. Here's a story, and this is, it's true. Me and my dad, Don King's been trying to get a hold of us for years, but people were keeping him away. So one day he calls my dad. He says, "Hey, I want to have be Tony's promoter for the next 5 fights." My dad calls me up. He says, "Hey Tony, what about one Don King for promoter?" I go, "Yeah, he pays really well. Yeah, let's do it." So then he goes, "Okay." He wants us to go to Vegas and talk to him. Well, let's go. So me and my dad, and at the time it was John Verger who was my attorney for all my fights, right? So we all three go to that's when he was at Caesars in Las Vegas. So we go to Vegas. We go to Don King's room. We're there for I think 4 or 5 days, the whole week, right? And then he said, "While you're here, you pay for nothing. Everything is comped. He drives you around limos. Everything is first class times 10. You know what I mean?"
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so we go to this meeting. Uh, we go to his office. There's a big, beautiful wooden table at Caesars in his room. I must have said like 16, 18, 20 people. It's a real long, beautiful table. Mike Tyson was in there buying a house. Well, he was on the phone buying. I thought he was buying a house. He wasn't buying a house. He was buying a watch. And then so we were sitting there talking to everybody, and it's great. I'll tell you the rest of the whole story later, but I can't tell you now. But I'll tell you the whole story later. But anyway, it was just crazy. So we're just sitting there BSing with Don King. He's really cool. You're just BSing with him, and all of a sudden, so he starts talking serious. He goes, "Okay, well, we need to talk about these contracts and blah blah blah." And he's being Don King. Oh well, and he's laughing, chuckling, doing the whole 9 yards. And then I introduced my dad on my left. He knows who I am, and I just introduced John as John Verga. I didn't say my attorney John Verga. I just said John Verga. And he goes, "Okay." And he starts talking about the contracts and how much he's willing to pay me per fight. He goes, "Man," he goes, the contract's already filled out. He goes, "You can go ahead and read them." He goes, "I'm gonna pay. I'll just use small amounts." He goes, "I'll pay you $1 to $10. You," he goes, "I signed them all." He goes, "You put down how much you want to make." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah. You put down how much you want to make." And I forgot to say this part. There were 2 sets of 5 contracts. And then so there's one of those on his left and there's one on his right. And then he pushes out these 5 contracts on the left. Well, John Verga, being the attorney, leans over to pick one up. And he grabs him. King grabs him and pulls him back real quick. And he goes, "Whoa." He goes, "Who are you?" I go, "Oh, no, that's my attorney, John Verga." All of a sudden he goes, "Oh." He starts laughing. He pulls the first 5 back and pushes out the other 5. I'm looking at him going, so I go, "What was that?" And dude, you know what? All the ha and he stopped. I mean, immediately. And he goes, "Mr. Lopez," he goes, "I see you're a man about your word." He goes, "You know what you did that most fighters don't?" I go, "What's that?" He goes, "You brought an attorney." He goes, "Yeah," and he's cussing. He's like a ghetto boy. He goes, "Do you know how many how many champions sit in that same chair as you without an attorney?" He goes, "Too many." He goes, "I'm a businessman." He said, "I'm in this business to make money." He goes, "I see you are too, and Mr. Lopez, you're going to make a lot of money in this business." And I go, "Cool." I go, "Just pay me a lot of money." You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So then we're talking, we're sitting there, and so he gives the contracts to John, and then when we leave, because we're going to be there for 5 days. I think that was our second day there, and then so there for 3 more days. And John as before we leave, goes, "Hey, you don't mind if I read one of the mother contracts, do you?" Because oh no, go ahead, it's 100% legal. My attorneys wrote these are fine. Go ahead, read that one too. So cool. So I want to know, So
Right.
then, so we go to our rooms. Saying we have our, we eat our food, and we go to our rooms. And I'll tell John, I go, hey man, I'm gonna call you in the morning, man. Let me know what that says. He goes, okay. So the next morning he gets up, and then so he gets up and all right, and then he gets up and he goes. I asked him. I call his room and I go, hey Johnny, what's that thing say? Because we'll go to breakfast and we'll talk about it. So, and the best way to describe it is, uh, one, you fight for under Don King Productions, right? And under Don King Productions, he takes care of everything. Uh, and that's the days back when everybody had a train of people behind them coming to the ring. Remember them?
Yeah.
20, 30,
Yeah.
100 people. It was
Yeah.
crazy. And you go to training when Don says you train where Don tells you to train at. You can bring all your family, your friends, cousins, sisters, aunts, uncles, and everything, right? Well, because most of them didn't have an attorney, in the small print it says you pay for all that.
Mm,
He's not paying. He's going to front it, but he ain't paying for it. It comes
right.
out of your purse.
Mm,
So when you have $1 million payday and you're only getting 300,000, that's because them other 100 people you had in your training camp for 2 months or 3 months or whatever you planned it for, are spending your money. Anything they
mm,
do or anything they did was comp, but it wasn't comped. You paid for it.
right. Right.
The contract I signed was we fight for Don King Productions. He gives us your amounts because we've always had training expenses, right? So training expenses were anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 for all training expenses because you're buying housing, you're buying food, you're buying everything is that you need for your sparring partners need to live comfortably for a couple of months. You pay for it,
Mm,
so that I bring a few sparring partners or trainers. You have to rent cars, houses, food, lodging, whatever they needed. You had to pay for it. So and plus you pay them, per round. And
right.
sometimes it's not that hard to spend 40,000 $50,000. It's just not that hard, you
Right.
know. And then and whatever what's ever left, I always shared it with my corner. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm-hmm.
So they got a little extra money, and so because it was mostly we always didn't have a lot of money left over, but there was enough to make you smile.
Right.
And
Sure.
yeah, and so you know what, Don King, I always thought Don King was just as great as Cedric Kushner from South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those two I put on pedestals. I've never felt the, when I fought for those two guys. There's only 2 times in my career. I fought for Don King 5 times. I fought for Cedric Kushner maybe twice. I
Mm,
forgot. And then both those guys made you feel like a world champion. You
mm,
know, I
mm-hmm.
remember before the fight, he'd fight over the world, promoting his fights. King would, right? And one time we're in New York, and my room is a big suite on one of the top floors. I don't know if it's the top floor. I don't remember, but it was a high building. In my room, I'm in my big old suite. I look out the window of my room. I'm going, oh wow, what a trip! And I'm going, it's the first time in my career I'm looking around my room and I'm going, I made it. This is it. I made it. You know?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I look out my window. I'm looking over Central Park. I'm going, yeah, this is it. You know? And I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a great feeling. And
Yeah.
because of all the hard work you've done, you worked for it all your whole life, pretty much.
Isn't that crazy? And I know you're a very motivated person. I know you've had a lot of business ventures since leaving boxing, but isn't it a great feeling when you put in all that effort and you see it finally pay off and you have that moment when you're sitting there and you're just like, man, like this is what I always dreamed of and here it is, and soaking that in. So that's awesome. So listen, from there, I wanted to talk to you a little bit because, boxing, I've always been a boxing fan. I've always loved it. But for some reason, I mean, there's a lot of great boxers out there right now. I mean, Canelo and Triple G, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury and all these names, but nobody's watching. And it seems like what they're watching is celebrity boxing fights. I mean, they're watching fights of, like Mike Tyson and Roy Jones fighting at the age of 60, rather than paying for these other fights. What do you think that is? What do you think you attribute that to?
Well, because the fighters of today are fighting for the money and not because they want to win. Huge difference. I never really thought too much of the money. You always, that's what you're fighting. But I let my dad take care of that. That's his job. I fought because I wanted to win. The difference in like okay, watch, and I'm just saying, because I ain't got a lot to kick it. It is what it is. Tyson Fury and who'd you say? Remember they fought
Deontay Wilder and Anthony
Deontay
Joshua.
Wilder. Probably the biggest, dumbest heavyweight fight I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Oh, come on, man. I went to Reno to go watch this thing. They had it in a big screen circuit of TV over there.
Mm-hmm.
It was Fury was throwing a jab like this, and it went just like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what the hell is he doing? I go, I know that's not a jab. I watch, dude. It's what I've done my whole life. I see there's just two big men. And granted, they can hit, they can punch. Okay, and that's what people pay for. They want to see two big men fall from punches.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But to get up there and act like they're the best thing since popcorn is BS, and it is. I mean, it's a joke, and it was disgusting. If you really want to know the truth, I was disgusted. It was probably the nastiest fight of non-boxing, fighting, whatever you want to call it, I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
I said it that night. I said it since then, and I'll keep saying it. I don't care if he's there or not.
That's interesting because that is probably arguably in the last 10 years the biggest fight that's happened. And and as a guy who's been there, I mean, you think it was that bad?
No, I watched the fight, dude. I'm telling you, it was that bad.
Wow.
I watched it.
That's interesting.
And I'm hearing the crowd going, yeah, the channel going, oh my God, these people like this shit stuff. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going, this is, it's crazy. Now watch, the man to beat right now is Canelo. He's the man to beat. And you know what? If you watch him, I mean, for right now, he's a good fighter. He's the man to beat. Taking nothing from him, he's the man to beat right now. But it's a good thing he's in this era, because if you'd have brought him in the era before mine, those guys are crazier than me. You know. But that's just the way it was. That's how it is.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I've thought about that sometimes, is how some of these guys would have fared in the eras of guys at your time and even before that, or like how someone like Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder would fare against a Lennox Lewis or an Evander Holyfield or a Mike Tyson, or even and you think that these guys wouldn't even hold a candle to those guys? No.
If he would have fought Evander Holyfield, if he would have fought Lennox Lewis, he'd have got killed. Yeah, because those guys don't play. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Yeah, I mean, go look at. I mean, if you're not familiar with the ones that we're talking about, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson. If you're not familiar with them, go to the archives. What is it? On the internet, and go look at their fights, and then come back and look at Deontay Wilder and what's his name fight. I mean, you can't even compare the two. It's a joke. Yeah. But this is what people are accepting as boxing. I mean, come on. Right.
Well, and it doesn't seem like they're accepting that as boxing, because the fights that are making the big rounds, like you just trained a guy who did a celebrity boxing fight. He was an influencer, Albert Ochoa, and and those seem to be what's big. What did you think of being involved in? I mean, I know you and Albert. I've known you for a while now, and I've known Albert for a while too, and he's a hardworking kid. I mean, he really is. I mean, he may be an influencer, but you were putting him through it, and it seemed like he was working pretty hard when he was working with you. What did you think the differences were in being involved in one of those celebrity boxing fights versus being in some? I know you've trained real boxers who've been, trying to make it up. What was the differences there?
Huge. Watch. I'm only being real because we're talking real, okay?
Yeah.
Albert is a good celebrity. Well, when I trained him, he was a good celebrity boxer, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I told Albert, because you want to take it seriously, but I know Albert, so I said, Albert, this is not for you, you're gonna go beat you're gonna beat a few celebrity guys, but you won't even beat a half decent amateur. It's a different world. It really is. And I'm just real. I'm not saying boxing's the best thing, and I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is since I trained him, I know what he can and cannot take. So as a trainer, I know what I got to do. And I did it. Now that's just me. Now watch this. To be real, we'll see what his next fight does. He has different trainers. Let him see what his next fight does. See if they see the same things I did. Because if they don't, because he's only his opponents should only get tougher. They can't get no worse. You know what I mean?
Right. Because that other fight, I mean, that fight he did, I think he got was it a second round knockout?
Yeah.
And so,
you know what? Well, like the guy told me, I go, come on, dude. I go, you because everybody keeps on. It didn't look like he just fell on his own, and it kind of did, So I asked the guy, I go, come on, man. I go, did that really hurt that bad? And he just goes, hey man. He goes, hey Tony. He goes, watch this. He goes, I'm an actor, dude. He goes, I'm not a fighter. He goes, I do this for fun. He goes, Albert hits pretty good. He goes, he hit me harder than I wanted to get hit. He goes, so I took the fastest way out. He goes, I just stopped. I quit. And
that's
go,
interesting.
Okay, that I believe.
That's interesting because I remember, like I said, I know Albert. He's a friend of mine, and so are you. And so I was interested in the fight, and I saw that, and the Twitter reaction was like, that was fake. The way he fell, it was fake, and I said, I was like, man, he caught him. You know what I mean? He caught him pretty good with that shot.
Yeah.
And so, but you're saying that the guy basically he got hit harder than he was expecting, and so he's like, nah, I'm not getting back up.
Yeah, basically, the dude's an actor. He's not there to get beat up. You know what I mean?
Right. Do you think that they go into those fights, like the celebrities go into those fights thinking, oh, we're just going to play around, and Albert went in there because Albert was serious. Like when I was talking to him about his fight, he was dead on. He's like, I am training to fight, and it seemed like maybe the other guy came in thinking he was just going to goof around, and Albert actually tagged him,
that it's kind of funny because, because when I train somebody, I train them. I don't, watch. Like I told him, he goes, I go, dude, because I asked him to do some stuff, and Albert did it. Don't get me wrong, but did he ever complain? Of course they do. Everybody complains. That's normal. Right. But like I told him, I go, dude, I go, you asked me, I didn't ask you. I go, but you asked a 3-time world champion to train you, so I know one way how to train like a champion. If you don't want to train like that, I'm the wrong guy for you. Right. So if I had to train a little bit harder than he expected, it worked. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I mean, like I said, when I was talking to him, because I think I talked to him probably, it was before you guys went down. It was in Florida, right? So it was before you guys left for Florida. And I remember talking to him for a minute and just saying, hey, are you ready? You ready to go? And he just was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And I'm ready. Like he was in the zone. I mean, you had him ready to go, and so that was interesting. But yeah, well, so what are you, as far as boxing now, do you have any plans on continuing to train? What are you doing now? I know you got your plumbing business that you're doing now, and you had for a while the bail bonds business. You ran for mayor, and you kind of delved back into boxing with Albert. Is that something that you're wanting to do a little more?
watch. Okay, watch. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I mean for real. Look, I can do. I'm that guy who thinks I can do anything
Mm-hmm.
if I put my mind to it. I do what I want to do, how I want to do it. That's what I do. I told people when I was 10 years old I'm gonna be a world champion. Guess what? I did it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I told people I'm gonna open a bail bonds business. People said you know nothing about bail. I said I'll figure it out. Guess what? I was
Mm-hmm.
the top 3 belts, one of the best bail bondsmen in town.
Yeah.
I go, hey, look. After that, I go, hey, look. I'm gonna be a plumber. I'm gonna be a really good plumber. I'm gonna be a decent price plumber. And guess what? That's what I do now, and I'm a really good plumber. So to say, because whatever I do, I get involved. I'm in it. You know what I mean? I don't cheat. I don't. I do what I got to do. You
Mm-hmm.
know. And when it comes to boxing, if 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 I'm going to train you, I'm going to train you right. If you want to learn, you're going to learn right. If you don't do what I'm asking you to do, that's on you, not me. You're the one getting hit. I'm not. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of high time. I'm training a couple guys right now, and it's just mostly just for fun. You know what I mean? It's not for fun. I mean, one of them is an MMA fighter working on his stand up game, and he's doing pretty good. Uh, and I got another guy that wants to box, but and he's doing pretty good too. They actually both doing pretty good, but it, you got to get them started somewhere. I just
Yeah.
tell them what I want to do. I tell them, hey man, if you don't do it, don't come. I don't care. You know, that's kind of where I'm at right now. You know.
Right. So let's say there's a guy out there, and I like what you said. You're the type of guy who you just believe if you put your mind to it, you could accomplish anything. And there's something about that kind of mindset that makes somebody successful. What would you say? I mean, look, you're a 3-time world champion, had a successful bail bonds business, you're being successful as a plumber. What would be the what you would tell somebody today, kid wanting to be a boxer? What would be your message to them?
My message to them would be: look, if you're gonna do it right. It's the only thing you can do. Boxing is that one sport that you can't do boxing. You can't. If you do boxing, you can't play baseball. If you do boxing, you can't play football. If you do boxing, you can't do other sports because it's going to take that much time and effort to get it done. You know, and if you're not willing to separate those types of sports or that separates boxing from everything else, then don't waste your time. You
Right,
know, because
right,
it's a fight. I train people to go to battle and win. You know,
right,
uh,
right.
like I told Albert, the first time you lose, I go, the first time you lose, who are they gonna look at? They're gonna look at me,
Mhm,
dude. I'm a good trainer. Matter of fact, I'm a I'm to be real. I'm be real. I'm a damn good trainer.
mhm.
I teach stuff that no amateur trainers teach, not even pro trainers teach anymore. You know, um, and that's what I do. You know, uh, like Albert. Albert looks so good because he is doing stuff that nobody, even pros don't even do. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm.
And because I know how to train him, I know how to do it. That's what I've done.
Right.
You know, and I don't know. It works out that way. You know.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, hey, man, it's been about an hour now. I told you I'd keep it under an hour. I appreciate it. You got places to go, people to see. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Uh, and I'd love to have you back. I want to talk to you someday about your mayoral run and talk about bail bonds and some of the fun stories you have from that. And so hopefully we can have you back.
Let's
So
do it, man. Let's do it fast. I tell you what, thinking about doing it again.
right on, right on, man. Well,
See what happens.
all right. Well, great. Well, thanks, Tony, and appreciate you coming on. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon, Josh.